Right then, it's set. Budapest, the big one. Arsenal versus PSG in the Champions League final. But listen, the noise since that final whistle in Munich has been absolutely deafening. People are already crowning PSG. They're calling for a total massacre, mate, reckoning it will be a repeat of what they did to Inter Milan last year. You're the man with the tactical spectacles on. Do the chatters have a point, or do we actually stand a chance against this PSG juggernaut?
Let's pause for a moment and actually look at the logic or lack thereof. Bayern Munich lost exactly 2 matches in the Champions League this season. Both teams that defeated them are now facing off in the final. Yet somehow the narrative dictates that one is an overwhelming cup favourite simply because they beat the same opponent the other had already dispatched earlier in the campaign. It's nonsensical, it truly is. I've quite literally deafened myself to the external noise because it's entirely irrelevant in the grand scheme of a final. Arsenal have gotten the better of Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid 3 times this season. Do people comprehend the tactical discipline required for that? We kept Griezmann and Alvarez silent for 270 minutes. We rendered Ademola Lookman a passenger for 180. Even with the individual brilliance PSG and Bayern possess, I would bet my house they couldn't beat that Atletico side 3 times in a single competition. They bring up the PSG Inter final as if we didn't go to the San Siro and dismantle Inter ourselves this season. Had this current Arsenal side faced that Inter team last year, even with half the squad in the treatment room, it would have been just as much of a massacre. PSG are favourites purely by virtue of being the defending champions. Beyond that, I see nothing to fear. I believe in this project. We didn't come this far just to make up the numbers. Budapest is set and 90 minutes will be the judge.
Spot on. We didn't come this far just to be tourists. But before we get into the thick of it, I want us to talk about that lineup. It was practically the dead opposite of what we thought Arteta would name. Even your preferred starting 11 was entirely different. Were you surprised when the team news dropped?
To be brutally honest, I was utterly gobsmacked when I saw that team sheet. It was an all-out, aggressively attacking lineup. Absolutely zero conservatism. I later heard that before the match, the gaffer told the boys point blank. He said, listen, I'm sticking with the Fulham lineup for the rest of the season. That's when it clicked for me. The Arteta we saw pre-Fulham is gone. He has evolved into an entirely new manager. It was down to what he witnessed in that Fulham game, a fluidity he hadn't seen all season. He realised what could have been if he had made that massive call the moment he started seeing the team struggle in our possession phases. We would have run away with the Premier League title by now. When you're managing a colossal club where expectations are sky high, your next selection simply has to be dictated by the performance metrics of your previous match.
Yeah.
You can give underperformers the benefit of a 2-game grace period to see if the drop-off is a mere blip. But if nothing changes, you must shuffle the pack because time is a luxury you do not have. Everyone knows our current league position is largely indebted to our rigid defensive structures rather than our holistic team performances. There were so many matches we failed to control, yet still scraped 3 points. A top tier side cannot survive indefinitely on that. Sooner or later, the opposition finds you out because you are the scalp everyone wants. Thank heavens his tactical emancipation arrived just in time. As a young coach, you evolve through your decision making, and sometimes it's forged by mitigating crises, perhaps dealing with the unavailability of your most trusted lieutenants on the pitch. All in all, the right call was made against Atletico Madrid, and we are on our way to Budapest.
The lads played valiantly out there. I'm genuinely short of words to quantify that performance, from the defence right through to the attack, and even the substitutes. They all did a blinding job. Mate, I really want to hear your resounding take on a job well done.
I cannot wax lyrical enough about that display. Every single detail was immaculate, right down to the manager's substitutions. The exact timing of those changes was intensely deliberate and instrumental in seeing the game out. If you recall my analysis on the last podcast, I explicitly stated that the key to our victory lay in how we activated Victor Gyökeres from the get-go, moving the ball vertically into the final third, with urgency and spotting every channel run he makes. With the forward-thinking midfield combinations Arteta selected, you saw exactly how we achieved that. We moved the ball swiftly, and Gyökeres was in an absolute flow state because they fed him to the brim. His runs directly engineered the chance creation for the solitary goal that sealed the tie. As I've maintained all year, our defenders have been locked in since August, keeping us competing for major honours on multiple fronts. But to get it over the line, the attack had to match that intensity. They've responded emphatically in these past 2 games. Our wide areas have burst into life. With Trossard and Saka, we are now lethal on both flanks. That exponentially increases our chance creation volume, organically leading to a higher win ratio. We aren't just struggling over the line anymore, we are winning with total domination.
Spot on. The aim isn't just to win, it's to win with total domination and exert absolute authority over the opponent. Let's talk about the genesis of this renaissance over the last two fixtures, the introduction of Myles Lewis-Skelly and the rejuvenation of Bukayo Saka. The hottest topic is Lewis-Skelly. Mate, do you think Arteta has finally cracked the code to get us over the line with Lewis-Skelly operating as the metronome?
In as much as the outcome of a football match cannot be determined on paper, it requires 22 players and 90 minutes of application. The correct tactical framework and personnel selection drastically swing the pendulum in your favour. Without disrespecting what Zubimendi has provided since his arrival, and let's be honest, he gave us brilliant moments in the first half of the season, a club vying for major honours demands relentless consistency. The integration of Myles Lewis-Skelly into the starting 11 is the best thing to happen to Arsenal at this crucial, delicate juncture. As I've said previously, an Arteta system ultimately requires the profile of a Lewis-Skelly far more than a Zubimendi.
Hold on a minute, mate. If Arteta's system inherently requires a Lewis-Skelly profile over a Zubimendi, why did he go out and sign him? Surely he knows who fits his own system. Shed some light on that for us.
Let me break it down into layman's terms. If you remember vividly, the groundwork for the Zubimendi signing was laid down last season. Furthermore, the attacking profiles Arteta had been courting, specifically the centre forwards, were entirely suited to a patient build-up, orchestrated by a calmer metronome like Zubimendi. How you build up from the back directly impacts your striker's positional play. Some thrive in patient transitions, others struggle. Before the summer, Arteta's primary target was Alexander Isak, who thrives in a patient build-up because he relishes dropping deep to involve himself in third phase progression. Even Kai Havertz thrives within that framework, as we saw against Man City. However, when Isak became unattainable and we pivoted to Victor Gyökeres, the tactical paradigm shifted. A patient build-up neutralizes a profile like Gyökeres. He prefers to attack space rather than drop into it. He thrives on kinetic energy and running the channels. Therefore, the ball must arrive quicker. For that, your metronome must be a first and second phase ball carrier who can initiate vertical and diagonal attacks instantly. When Gyökeres makes his run, you must pull the trigger without hesitation. Zubimendi simply lacks that immediate swiftness. A prime Thomas Partey would have worked wonders with Gyökeres. But in his absence, we needed a profile that mirrors that stylistic urgency. There is no player in our squad whose game closer resembles Partey's than Lewis-Skelly.
Yeah.
Forget about the goals Gyökeres has previously scored. In the last two games, his overall involvement proved he can lead the line against elite opposition. With Lewis-Skelly, we are finally playing to his strengths rather than exposing his weaknesses.
Wow, nobody could have broken that down better. So what about the impact of Bukayo Saka's renaissance on Gyökeres? Earlier this season, the consensus was that they weren't compatible. What changed?
Listen, mate, regarding the star boy, the initial friction in their combination was entirely down to Saka's physical condition. We all know he has been managing an Achilles issue and hasn't been at his sparkling best. An intelligent, elite profile like Saka should never have an issue combining with any centre forward. He is simply too talented. An Achilles injury is arguably the most agonising, restrictive ailment a winger can carry. As Arteta noted post-Fulham, Saka is finally playing with less pain and absolute freedom. You can see it over the last two matches. He has delivered genuine franchise player performances. Consequently, his combinations with Gyökeres have been devastating. A dynamic winger dramatically increases chance creation, which is the exact fuel Gyökeres requires. I am just relieved he is peaking at the precise moment we need our forwards to lock in.
Every single player put in a massive shift, but if you had to pick, who were your standout performers against Atletico?
This is genuinely the most difficult performance ranking I've had to adjudicate all season, because I could easily lavish praise on the entire 11. Even Ben White, who has endured a patchy run of form lately, was phenomenal. His link up with Bukayo brought back their telepathic connection of old, and defensively, he completely marshalled the right flank, rendering Ademola Lookman an absolute passenger. Jurrien Timber's return still uncertain, White's resurgence is perfectly timed. Gabriel was equally colossal. Without his crucial intervention, we would have conceded in the dying embers. The Brazilian dealt with every long ball and cross, completely neutralising Julian Alvarez and Alexander Sorloth. Declan Rice was a titan. His goal-bound block in the first half was a tie-saver. Chasing the game early against a Simeone side is usually fatal. Lewis-Skelly entirely justified his selection. His build-up play was tidy, and his defensive recoveries, passing and playmaking were effortlessly smooth. He has this immense core strength that allows him to use position contact pressure as a catalyst to spin away. It was a rare, mature display from the Hale End prodigy. On the left, Trossard was a constant threat, one of his best outings this season. And Bukayo Saka, our franchise star, delivered when the lights were brightest with the tie-winning goal. However, my man of the match has to be Viktor Gyökeres. It was like watching a player reborn. It proves that immense mental fortitude governs the tactical, technical, and physical elements of the sport. He proved he is built for high-pressure crucibles. Ticked every conceivable box: channel runs, transition outlets, hold-up play, link-up play, and immense aerial and ground duel success. It was one of the most complete centre-forward displays of the entire campaign.
Gyökeres was my man of the match as well, mate. Everything we previously doubted became a massive strength. He terrorised that Atletico defence. All right, let's pivot back to the Premier League. Everton gave us a massive lifeline with that 3-3 draw against Man City. Now we have another daunting task to widen the gap away to a relegation-threatened West Ham. Mate, how do we approach this?
Everton have done us an astronomical favour. I am incredibly positive heading into the London Stadium because the squad is currently brimming with confidence. A team that has just booked its place in a Champions League final will be in an immaculate frame of mind. The victory over Atletico lifts the psychological burden. They are highly motivated. Motivation breeds the exact confidence required to get the job done against West Ham. Yes, it will be a gritty fixture because they are scrapping for their top flight survival, but it will be equally tough for them because we are hunting a title and we have the momentum of European finalists. Crucially, we have 5 days of rest. Both Saka and Eze only played 57 minutes against Atletico. They will be fully recharged. I know Man City's last gasp equaliser at Hill Dickinson might give them a flicker of belief, but Arsenal know that a win against West Ham practically seals the title mathematically, setting us up to officially lift it against Burnley at the Emirates rather than dragging the drama to the final day. We are winning that game.
If you're proper Arsenal and you want the tactical truth without the fluff, get stuck in, hit that subscribe button, join the Arsenal Inside Out family, and let's witness this history together. We're doing this as one, and you won't want to miss a second of it. Let's pivot to the transfer window. A very reliable source, the Hand of Arsenal, stated we are tracking Ajax winger Mika Götze to beef up the left flank this summer. Do you think the Belgian would be a great buy to elevate that side of the pitch?
I've watched a couple of his matches in the Eredivisie this season. Stylistically, he possesses the combined technical traits of a Thomas Rosicky and a Samir Nasri. He is an exceptional dribbler with the precise technical proficiency required to unlock rigid low blocks. The only slight concern is his physical frame. He is quite diminutive. However, as Ryan Cherki is currently proving over at Man City, a massive physical build isn't everything. Technical proficiency should always be the paramount consideration when scouting an attacking profile. Götze has a brilliant low centre of gravity and he'd undoubtedly hit the ground running. That said, I would prefer him as an understudy or replacement for Trossard rather than Martinelli. If we are looking for a definitive first choice left winger next season, an established Premier League and Champions League winning squad should be targeting the absolute best of the best in world football.
Another rumour mill is spinning, and it's saying Arsenal have earmarked Newcastle's Tino Livramento as the replacement for Ben White, who looks likely to depart this summer. Sources close to the player are saying it's a done deal, 100% certain, and talks have already happened with his camp. Is Livramento for White the right call from Arteta, or are we playing with fire?
Tino Livramento is an exceptionally talented, creative and audacious fullback. There's a very specific reason Manchester City were circling him in last summer. His ceiling is immense. However, there is a glaring asterisk next to his name: fitness. We have to be clinical here. We saw how much the squad suffered when Ben White was overplayed due to the injuries to Takehiro Tomiyasu and Jurriën Timber. We're seeing a similar pattern with Timber struggling because he's had to carry the load while White was sidelined. It's a vicious cycle. If we recruit Livramento, who has had his fair share of spells on the sidelines, we risk perpetuating that exact same pattern. From a purely tactical standpoint, his profile is perhaps the best fit for what Arteta wants in a dynamic right back. He's brave on the ball and offers a verticality we sometimes lack. Perhaps Mosquera provides some physical relief in the rotation, but I sincerely hope the club has rigorously evaluated the medical pros and cons before making him the primary target. Tino is a superb prospect and he'll be a revelation in this Arsenal system, provided he can actually stay on the pitch.